Scientists publicly staked their reputations on a date. The volcano missed it. They recalculated. It missed that one too. Now the most closely watched underwater volcano on Earth is charging toward an eruption that no model has managed to time correctly. Sitting 300 miles off the Oregon coast, a mile beneath the Pacific, and the window to witness it is closing faster than the magma is rising. But here is what no viral video about this volcano will tell you. Hidden inside a tamper-proof digital archive, eruption forecasts are stacking up month by month, sealed with cryptographic locks that no one can open. Not scientists, not journalists, not anyone. The predictions only unlock the moment the volcano blows, and the system feeding that experiment is only confirmed to stay online through the summer of 2026. The volcano is expected to erupt mid to late 2026. Those two timelines are now on a collision course. In 1998, a swarm of more than 8,000 earthquakes rattled the seafloor over 11 days. Lava flows buried the caldera floor meters deep. No one on the surface knew. The world went on completely unaware. In April 2011, the same volcano erupted again. The caldera floor collapsed. Lava buried an entire hydrothermal vent ecosystem. Again, the surface world noticed nothing. Then came 2015. Seismographs recorded nearly 8,000 earthquakes in a single day. Within 24 hours, lava severed underwater cables. The seafloor dropped more than 2 meters. This time, a volcanologist at Oregon State University's Hatfield Marine Science Center had seen it coming. He had publicly forecast the eruption months in advance, staking his reputation on a pattern he had tracked for nearly 20 years. The volcano erupted inside his prediction window. It seemed like science had finally cracked the code. The cycle, researchers believed, was 13 to 15 years. Inflation would climb steadily. When pressure crossed a threshold, the system would rupture. Clockwork. That was supposed to be the discovery that made this the most predictable volcano on Earth. Every single forecast issued since 2015 has been wrong. In December 2024, the same researcher spoke at the American Geophysical Union and announced that the volcano had reached 95% of the 2015 inflation threshold. He predicted an eruption before the end of 2025. 3 waves of global media coverage followed. January, May, August. Each wave grew more sensationalized than the last. Between the first and second wave, nothing had actually changed. The volcano kept inflating, but not erupting. Seismicity stayed stubbornly low, hovering around 100 to 200 earthquakes per day, an order of magnitude below what preceded 2015. December 31st arrived. The year ended in silence. No eruption. Now follow the cable. A fiber optic line stretches 900 kilometers west from a shore station on the Oregon coast, dropping to nearly a mile beneath the Pacific surface until it reaches the summit of Axial Seamount. This is the Ocean Observatory's initiative Regional Cabled Array. Over 140 instruments are wired directly into the volcano, streaming data to laboratories on land in real time. No submarine volcano on Earth has ever been watched this closely. The array represents $800 million in scientific infrastructure and more than 2 decades of continuous ocean data. The seamount itself rises 3,600 feet from the ocean floor. Its caldera stretches miles across. Lava from previous eruptions blankets the surrounding seafloor for dozens of miles in every direction. Axial sits on the Juan de Fuca Ridge, a spreading center where new ocean crust constantly forms, and it rests directly above a volcanic hotspot. It is the same type of geological engine that powers Hawaii, and the same type that built Iceland. That dual power source is why this volcano has erupted at least 50 times in the last 800 years. And this is where it gets worse. The researcher admitted it plainly at the December 2025 meeting of the American Geophysical Union. Pattern recognition, the method that built his career, does not work at Axial anymore. The inflation rate keeps shifting. Every time his team projects when the volcano will reach its critical threshold, the rate changes and the forecast collapses. He told Science News this has been an experiment to push the limits of long-term eruption forecasting, and that part of the lesson is learning what is possible and what is not. But what replaced pattern recognition is unprecedented in the history of volcanology. On November 8, 2025, a team of physicists led by a geophysicist from Uppsala University and a researcher from ETH Zurich launched the Axial Seamount eruption forecasting experiment. Their model was originally designed to predict mechanical failure in landslides, glaciers, and rock bursts. Now it is running against live data from the cabled array in real time. Every month, a new prediction is generated, cryptographically sealed, and archived before anyone outside the team sees the result. The forecasts accumulate in silence. They will only be opened for public review after the next eruption occurs. Whether they were right or catastrophically wrong, the full record will be visible. That is only half the problem. In the spring of 2025, the federal government proposed cutting the Ocean Observatory's initiative's funding by 80%. Congress ultimately rejected the worst of those cuts and passed a budget that kept National Science Foundation funding relatively stable. The reprieve is temporary. The array is confirmed only through the summer of 2026. The eruption is now forecast for mid to late 2026. A professor at the University of Washington School of Oceanography and director of the Regional Cabled Array told Science that if what researchers learned in 2015 is correct, she would expect to see more than 2,000 earthquakes per day, sustained for several months before the next eruption. Right now, Axial is producing roughly 300 earthquakes per day. The current working hypothesis is that 500 per day is the threshold that needs to be sustained before conditions are right for an eruption. Based on the exponential relationship between ground inflation and seismicity, researchers expect to reach that number before the year is out. Here is what that means in practice. Every 3 hours, a high-definition camera mounted at the summit of Axial Seamount broadcasts a 14-minute window from the seafloor. If the eruption strikes during one of those windows, it will be the first time in recorded history that a mid-ocean ridge eruption has been witnessed on video. The initial phase is expected to last approximately 1 hour. Lava will spread across the caldera floor. Fissures will crack open for up to 25 miles. Then the eruption will continue more quietly, reshaping the seafloor over the course of roughly a month. Imagine the sound. A mile of ocean pressing down on fresh lava. Seawater trapped beneath cooling rock turning instantly to steam, then collapsing inward. The implosion sends out a pulse too low for human ears, but captured by hydrophones and played back at 50 times normal speed. That is what an eruption sounds like from the inside. And every time it has happened before, the surface world heard nothing at all. Now here is where the misinformation becomes genuinely dangerous. Videos circulating online claim that Axial Seamount is connected to the Cascade Range through shared magma networks. They claim its eruption will trigger a magnitude 9 megaquake along the Cascadia subduction zone. They claim Mount Rainier, Mount Hood, and Mount St. Helens will follow in a chain reaction. The researcher who has spent 30 years studying this volcano has addressed this directly and explicitly. The eruption poses no tsunami risk. It will not trigger a Cascadia subduction zone earthquake. The volcano sits on a divergent plate boundary, meaning plates are pulling apart, not colliding and sliding beneath each other. Its plumbing is simpler than land volcanoes precisely because it sits on thin oceanic crust. What gets swept away by the panic is the actual question, the one that nobody is asking loudly enough. What happens if the funding deadline arrives before the eruption does? What happens if the sealed forecast inside that cryptographic archive never get a chance to be tested because the instruments that feed them go dark in August? What happens if the volcano that was supposed to teach humanity how to predict eruptions slips back into silence, unmonitored, for the first time in more than a decade, and the answer is already written down somewhere that no one can access anymore? 300 miles off the Oregon coast, 1 mile beneath the Pacific, Axial Seamount is still inflating. The sealed forecasts are still accumulating. The funding clock is still running. And somewhere inside a locked archive that no one can open yet, the answer to whether science can outrun a volcano has already been written down.